The morning rain whispered softly against the windows of Sweet Dreams Bakery, making a rhythm that only early risers like Leona Rowan understood. She stood behind the bakery counter, carefully arranging freshly baked vanilla cupcakes into the glass display. Each cupcake had a tiny sugar violet on top, her personal signature. Something delicate, something almost too pretty to eat, something that made people remember her work long after they left. She loved these quiet hours before anyone showed up, when there was no sound except the hum of ovens cooling down and the warm scent of cinnamon drifting in the air. No voices telling her what to do, no questions, no judgments, just baking, just peace. Welcome to Voices of Auntie May. Today's story isn't fictional. It's life, it's pain, it's change. Stay till the end, because this one will show you how disastrous it can be when the wrong people try to control what never belonged to them. Just as Leona placed the last cupcake in the display, the bakery phone rang sharply. She glanced at the clock, 7:30 a.m. No one called this early. Not even suppliers. She wiped her hands on her apron and answered. Double quotes, "Hello, this is Leona. Good morning, Ms. Rowan." The voice was formal, calm. "This is Attorney Desmond Hale from Hale, Everett and Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of your godmother, Ms. Aries Holloway." Leanna's heart skipped. Her fingers froze around the phone. She felt suddenly cold. Even though the ovens were still releasing heat behind her, it had been less than a month since Aries passed away after fighting cancer. Aries wasn't just a godmother, she was a guardian, a replacement for the mother Leona lost too young. "Yes, I'm listening," she whispered. "There is an urgent matter," the attorney continued. "Ms. Holloway left you an inheritance. We need you to come in as soon as possible." Inheritance. Leona frowned. She never mentioned anything. Attorney Hale paused, as if choosing his words with care. "Your godmother left you her restaurant, the Legacy Crown." Leona dropped a cupcake, frosting smeared onto the counter like a small wounded flower. The Legacy Crown, she almost laughed, out of disbelief. Everyone in Atlanta knew the Crown. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was the restaurant. The place where politicians, celebrities, wealthy business owners waited months for a reservation. The place where her godmother spent 30 years building culinary perfection. There must be a mistake. Leona whispered. "She never told me. There is no mistake," Desmond responded. "Ms. Holloway said you're the only one she trusts with her life's work. You were like a daughter to her." Those words felt heavier than any inheritance. An hour later, Leona sat in a polished office, staring at documents worth millions. Papers declaring that, whether she felt ready or not, she now owned a legend, a restaurant people feared to even apply to work in, a restaurant whose name intimidated even experienced chefs. "She prepared everything before passing," Desmond explained. "In addition to the restaurant property, she has left behind a wine collection, vendor contracts, staffing provisions, and she left a letter addressed to you only." He pushed a sealed envelope toward her, her name written in familiar slanted handwriting. "To my dearest Leona." Her chest tightened. "Can I open it now?" "It's your choice," Desmond said gently, "but I recommend reading it privately." She wrote it with intention. Leona nodded, clutching it like something fragile, like something she wasn't ready to hear. By the time she reached home, it was noon. She expected silence. She expected time to absorb everything. But when she entered, her husband Evan Hale was already sitting in the living room, a glass of whiskey in his hand. At noon, her stomach dropped. "Why are you home?" she asked, setting her purse down carefully. Evan looked up slowly. His eyes weren't angry. They were accusing. "My mother called. She says you inherited the Legacy Crown." "Is it true?" Leanna's breath caught. She hadn't told anyone yet. How did they already know? "So it's true," Evan repeated, taking a long sip. Why didn't you tell me? Your own husband. I just came back from the lawyer. She explained softly. I was going to tell you. You were going too. He scoffed. Mum heard it from a waiter's wife. People are shocked. They can't believe someone like you, someone who runs a tiny bakery, got the crown, someone like you. She heard it louder than he said it. Evan, she said softly, Aries trusted me. I was raised in those kitchens. But this is a multi-million-dollar business. Evan cut her off. This isn't cupcakes and small-town customers. Do you even know about wine selections? About Michelin standards, about fine dining clientele, about she swallowed. I can learn. He laughed through his nose, not amused, dismissive, so naive. He muttered, Mom says this is crazy, and honestly, I agree. Liana's hand tightened around Aries' letter in her purse. She should have read it already. She needed Aries' voice now more than ever, because one thing became painfully clear at that moment. Her husband didn't believe she could do it, not because she lacked skill, but because he never really saw her, not the woman who worked hard, not the baker with a gift, not the person Aries trusted with her legacy. To him, she was just someone who made cupcakes, and that he was about to cost him everything. Liana stood in her living room staring at a man who once admired her baking like it was magic. Now his eyes held nothing but doubt and embarrassment, as if her success was something he needed to explain away to the world. So what now? He asked sharply. You think you can just walk into the crown and run it? You think you can take charge of chefs who've worked there longer than you've been an adult? You'll embarrass yourself, and us. Double quotes us. That word stung more than anything. When her bakery earned small praise, it was your little hobby. But now that something valuable entered her life, suddenly it was us. She took a quiet breath. Aries believed in me. Evan rolled his eyes. Aries was sentimental. She probably didn't think clearly in her final days. She was sick. She probably, don't you dare, Liana said before she could stop herself. Don't disrespect her like that. Evan was startled. In 6 years of marriage, she had never raised her voice at him. Not once. She was soft-spoken, cooperative, patient. Nobody expected thunder from a person made of quiet mornings and vanilla-scented clouds. But they forgot, even clouds can bring storms. Before Liana could say more, the front door opened without knocking. A familiar cloud of floral perfumes swept in first, followed by expensive heels clicking across the wooden floor. Mom? Evan called out. Vivian Hale entered the house like she owned it. She didn't bother greeting anyone, just made herself present with her usual dramatic flair. There you both are, she announced. We need to talk. Liana looked away, her stomach tightening. She already knew what this would be. Vivian wasn't a woman who came to congratulate. She came to take over. Vivian sat down, crossing her legs, hair perfectly curled, lipstick too bold to ignore. She looked like someone waiting to deliver a lecture. I heard the news, she said sweetly. The legacy crown, a shocking decision by Aries, but what's done is done, I suppose. Liana kept her face neutral. She knew this wasn't admiration. Vivian continued. I've spoken to my financial advisor, Mr. Fielding, considering the current market. You have only two viable options. Here it came. Option 1, Vivian said. You sell the restaurant immediately. Before word spreads, before the value drops. It's the safest business decision. Liana's heart sank. Sell Aries' life's work, so strangers could destroy it. No, and option 2. Liana asked. Vivian's smile widened, polished and sharp. I run it for you. Temporarily, of course. You're inexperienced with this level of business. Evan can handle operations, I'll handle management. We'll take care of everything while you do what you do best. And what do I do best? Liana asked, though she already knew the answer that would follow. Vivian softly patted her hand like she was a child. You bake, sweetheart, pastries, desserts. You can be the lovely face of the brand. But leadership. No, leave that to us. In that moment, Leona realized something with perfect clarity. They weren't shocked she inherited the crown, they were offended by it. Her success felt like a threat to people who never expected her to rise above their expectations. Leona reached for her purse, fingertips brushing the sealed letter, the one written in Ares's familiar handwriting, the one she still hadn't read. Maybe she needed its strength before facing this. I haven't decided anything yet, she replied. Well, don't think too long, Vivian said briskly. Business won't wait for you. Dinner that night was quiet, but Vivian wasn't done pushing her agenda. She talked about budgets, profit margins, how restaurants lose millions under emotional management, and how decisions must be made without sentiment. She talked like the crown was already hers. Leona listened. She didn't argue. She didn't fight. She stayed silent because she knew silence is powerful when people believe you're powerless. Silence makes them reveal everything. Silence is a mirror. They end up exposing themselves. She excused herself after dinner and locked herself in the bathroom. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the letter. Ares's handwriting flowed like her voice, steady and graceful. My dearest Leona, if you are reading this, I am gone. Do not mourn too long. I lived the life I wanted, and I leave my greatest work to the only person who understands why it matters. You are not prepared, and that is exactly why you are perfect. True leaders learn. They do not assume they already know. I have arranged everything so no one can take what is yours. Trust Chef Brem Cassidy. Trust manager Nita Price. They will help you because they know what the crown stands for. If anyone tries to control what belongs to you, contact attorney Desmond Hale immediately. The documents you signed today are not the only protections. I believe in you, Leona. Even if others cannot see you yet, you will see yourself when the time comes. With love, Ares blurred the page. Not from fear, not from sadness, but from the feeling she hadn't known in so long. Someone truly believed in her. She folded the letter with care, placed it back into the envelope, and stepped out. Evan stood outside the door, holding papers. It's nothing big, he said casually. Just temporary power of attorney. Mom runs the restaurant for now, until you're more prepared. Just sign and everything will be easier. Temporary. She almost laughed. She had read enough contracts to see the trick. No time limits, no restrictions, no clauses protecting her. Once she signed, she'd lose everything. She stared at the pen he offered. No, she said softly. Evan blinked. What? I'm not signing. His voice tightened. Leona, don't be stupid. This is too much for you. You'll ruin the restaurant. She looked him in the eyes, calm and steady. You don't get to decide what I can or cannot do. And in that moment, something changed forever. Leona didn't fight. She didn't shout. She didn't plead. She simply chose herself. And that terrified them more than anything. The sun hadn't even risen when Leona Rowan slipped out of the house. She didn't take clothes. She didn't take jewelry. She didn't even take breakfast. She only took her keys, her phone, and the letter that reminded her she wasn't alone. She drove straight to Sweet Dreams Bakery, unlocking the doors to the quiet warmth of her second home. Flour dusted the counters like snow. The ovens hummed back to life as she switched them on. Without thinking, without planning, her hands began moving, slicing butter, measuring cinnamon, kneading dough. She didn't bake to escape. She baked to breathe. Hours passed. Croissants rose in golden layers. Cupcakes cooled on trays. Bread loaves cracked open crisply in the oven. Her grief, anger, confusion, they all found a place in the dough. By the time morning light spilled across the bakery floor, the world outside was waking up. And so was she. At 8:00 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from attorney Desmond Hale. Remember, silence is strategy. Do not sign anything. Do not argue. Let them destroy their own case. She typed a reply. Understood. Thank you. 5 minutes later, she got another message. Unknown number. Meet me at 5 p.m. Jackson Street Bridge. Bram Chef Bram Cassidy. Aries trusted him. And if Aries trusted him, that was enough. At 5 p.m. sharp, she stood on the Jackson Street Bridge. Cars rushed by below. The city tasted like steel and storm air, ready for something to change. Bram arrived exactly on time, tall, broad shoulders, thick beard, a face carved by decades of kitchen pressure. He wasn't a man of gentle words. He wasn't a man of small talk. He was a man of results and loyalty. You came, he said simply. Aries asked me to trust you, Leona replied. He nodded once, as if that was the only confirmation they needed. What's happening at the Crown? She asked. His jaw tightened. Your mother-in-law walked in like a queen. Fired Liam, my sous chef. Claimed he was too expensive, replaced our wine suppliers with cheap distributors, and wants me to cook simpler, cheaper food. She doesn't understand the Crown isn't about cost. It's about artistry. Leona swallowed hard. And the others. The staff is angry, confused, scared to lose their jobs. Some are waiting to see if you'll fight. Some don't know if you even care. Leona lowered her eyes. They think I abandoned the restaurant? They think you're silent, Bram corrected. But the right silence can be louder than noise. Aries never raised her voice. She never begged. She just outperformed everyone who doubted her. Leona felt a slow, steady confidence forming. What do I do now? She asked. Bram looked at her with stern respect. You do nothing. Let them ruin it. The Crown needs to collapse before you can rebuild it. When the world sees what they've done, they'll beg for your version. Leona wasn't expecting a war strategy. But it was exactly that. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And when you're ready to take it back, we'll all stand with you. For the first time, she wasn't just Aries' goddaughter. She wasn't just Evan's wife. Or a girl who made cupcakes. She was the rightful heir of something bigger. 2 days passed. Leona didn't argue. She didn't visit the restaurant. She didn't defend her abilities to her husband. She didn't plead with Vivian. She simply baked, every morning, every evening. And while she baked, the legacy crown crumbled. A food blogger posted a review titled, "What Happened to the Crown?" People commented, "The food used to be art. It tastes cheap now. Where's the real chef?" This is embarrassing. Bookings dropped. Celebrity clients cancelled dinners. The phone stopped ringing. Evan grew restless. He visited the bakery again, lips tight, tone sharp. You have to do something, he said. Mom is doing her best, but the staff is turning on her. Leona took a tray of croissants from the oven, letting the smell of butter fill the room. She answered calmly. She said I should stay in my lane, remember? I'm doing that. Evan rubbed his temples. Be serious. It's your restaurant too. No, she corrected softly. They told me it's ours only when it benefited them. Otherwise, I'm just the bakery girl, so let them handle it. He stared at her, suddenly seeing how much she had changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just firmly. He stepped closer. Leona, please. We could lose everything. She looked him directly in the eyes. You only care now because you're losing something. Not because you believed I ever deserved it. He froze, because she was right. While the legacy crown burned under Vivian's proud mismanagement, Leona continued meeting secretly with staff. First Bram, then manager Nita Price, then 2 waiters. A pastry assistant. A bartender. A dishwasher who had been with Aries for 16 years. They didn't meet in offices or restaurants. They met in quiet places, park benches, empty bakery tables, silent sidewalks at dusk. No promises were made loudly. No contract signed. No rebellion announced. Just loyalty forming quietly, like dough rising unseen. The crown wasn't falling. It was shedding its skin. And soon. It wouldn't belong to the Hales. It would belong to the people who built it, the ones who understood it, the ones who deserved it, the ones who would protect it. And at the center of it all stood Liana, with flour on her hands and fire in her heart. The downfall of the legacy crown came faster than anyone expected. The restaurant that once needed months of reservations now had empty tables, echoing like forgotten promises. Expensive chandeliers glimmered above untouched plates. Critics who once praised its dishes now mocked its mediocrity. Influencers even made videos comparing its food to supermarket meals. In every corner of Atlanta's high-end dining scene, one question floated like smoke: what happened to the crown? Vivian Hale thought she knew the answer. She believed change was necessary. She believed she was modernizing the restaurant. She believed she was saving money and increasing profits, but she didn't understand the problem. She didn't understand that the crown wasn't built on money. It was built on respect. Respect for ingredients. Respect for technique. Respect for the staff who worked like artists, not employees. The moment she treated the restaurant like a business and not a legacy, she lost it. 2 weeks later, the final blow came. A well-known food journalist arrived quietly for dinner without reservation. He tasted the dishes. The steak was chewy. The salmon smelled slightly off. The wine pairing was a disaster. He left early. The next morning, his review appeared online. The headline was brutal: "A queen without a crown, the legacy falls." The article spread like wildfire. Screenshots exploded on social media. Loyal customers expressed heartbreak. Chefs around the city posted angry comments. Within 48 hours, the legacy crown was a public embarrassment. Vivian tried everything: discounts, promotions, ads. Nothing worked. Investors pulled out. Suppliers demanded payment upfront. Staff threatened to quit. The restaurant wasn't just failing, it was dying. Evan panicked. He called Liana from the restaurant office. "Liana, please come help," he begged. His voice cracked. "This is your place too. You have to fix this before it's too late." For a moment, Liana almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then she remembered the night he had shoved papers in her face and told her she would ruin the restaurant if she tried to run it. So she said calmly, "You didn't want me involved. You wanted me to hand it over. Now let those who wanted control take responsibility." Evan fell silent, words trapped in his throat. Because this wasn't cruelty. This was consequence. Before she hung up, she added one last sentence: "I won't fight for something that you never believed I deserved." The next morning, movers arrived at the Crown. They weren't random movers. They were sent by attorney Desmond Hale. Legal documents had been finalized. Ownership breakdown had been revealed. Every asset Aries planned with purpose was protected. The wine cellar, it wasn't part of the restaurant sale. It was a separate investment trust, 100% belonging to Liana. The industrial kitchen equipment, purchased under Aries's private corporation, also inherited by Liana, even specialty dining furniture and glassware. Not owned by the Crown, owned by Aries's legacy company, now Liana's. Vivian watched in horror as men removed everything piece by piece. "What are you doing?" she shouted. "You can't take that." The lead mover held out a legal notice. "We're not taking it, ma'am. We're reclaiming it. It was never yours." Vivian's face turned pale. For the first time, she looked powerless, and Liana, she didn't even show up. She didn't need to. When someone fights for something they don't respect, they destroy themselves. Liana just waited. By evening, a sign hung on the restaurant doors, "Closed for renovation." But everyone knew there was nothing left to renovate. The Hales had lost the Crown, not through struggle, not through competition, but through ego, and Liana didn't have to lift a finger. Meanwhile, across town, in a quiet brick building with high windows and warm lighting, workers prepared something new. Boxes of fresh ingredients arrived. High-end ovens were installed. A small team trained for perfection. Chef Bram Cassidy supervised the kitchen. Manager Nita Price designed the service flow. Former Crown employees showed up with loyalty instead of desperation, and above the entrance, a new sign was being painted: Aries' legacy knit the Crown, not a replacement. Not a copy, a continuation, a resurrection of everything Aries built, but with Liana at the heart of it. As she stood inside, watching the new restaurant take shape, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not because she won, but because she didn't give herself away to be accepted. She imagined the future. The tables filled, food plated with excellence, customers appreciating real craft, and maybe, someday, earning a Michelin star. Then her phone lit up. Evan Hale calling. Her stomach didn't twist this time. Her heart didn't race, she felt. Nothing. Because sometimes the person you build a life with isn't your partner, they're your lesson, and now it was time for closure. The night air was cool when Liana finally agreed to meet Evan. She chose a public cafe, neutral, quiet, and far from both her bakery and the faded glory of the Crown. She arrived 10 minutes early, not because she was eager, but because she didn't want to walk into whatever mood he would bring. Evan entered with slumped shoulders, the arrogance drained from his posture. His suit looked wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and for the first time since she met him, he looked small. Not physically, emotionally. "Thanks for coming," he said, taking the seat across from her. She nodded, not out of kindness, but closure. The wait arrived, and Evan quickly ordered whiskey. At this hour, it didn't matter anymore. "I don't know what to say," he admitted, rubbing his forehead. "Everything is falling apart. Mom hasn't left the house in days. Investors are threatening lawsuits. Staff is refusing to return. And nobody respects us anymore." Liana stirred her tea slowly. "They don't respect leaders who don't respect the work." He looked at her like she was speaking a language he didn't understand. "What did you want me to do, Liana?" he asked, voice tight. "You expect me to let you walk in and manage a restaurant worth millions? You think just baking makes you qualified?" She didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. She simply chose honesty. "I never needed you to believe I was qualified," she said. "I needed you to believe I could learn." Evan fell silent. That was the difference he never saw. "You know what hurts?" She continued softly. "You had more faith in transactions than in people. More in control than in trust. More in your mother's ego than in your partner's growth." He swallowed hard. I didn't know how to support you. I thought protecting you was the same as controlling things for you." She gave a faint, sad smile. "Control isn't protection. It's insecurity." He lowered his eyes. For the first time, he didn't defend himself. He didn't blame her. He didn't talk about business or money. He simply looked defeated, like a child who just realized he broke something he couldn't fix. He finally asked the question he should have asked weeks ago. "What do you want from me now?" Liana took a deep breath. She didn't hate him. She didn't even resent him anymore. She just outgrew who she was with him. "I want my peace," she answered. "And I want my name free from your business decisions. You and your mother will not interfere with anything I build. And us?" he asked, voice barely audible. "There is no us in something built on disbelief," she replied. "Partnership requires respect. Without that, it's just ownership." The words were gentle, but final. Evan blinked, eyes glossy. He wasn't losing a restaurant anymore. He was losing someone who truly cared. Someone who could have built something with him, if he had let her. Some heartbreak isn't loud. It's truthful. And truth is enough to break a soul. She stood up, left money for her tea, and walked away. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. That chapter had ended. Days passed, and Atlanta buzzed with whispers. Some people mocked the fall of the Crown, others mourned it. But everywhere, people asked the same thing: what will Liana do next? Then, one bright morning, the answer appeared. A new billboard rose above a busy highway, black and gold, elegant and bold. On it was a simple image, a single crown made of flower dust, and underneath it, Aries' legacy, opening soon. No loud advertisement. No flashy slogans. Just respect. The culinary world reacted instantly. Chefs applauded the return. Former customers waited eagerly. Even media outlets demanded first interviews. It wasn't hype. It was hunger. A different kind of hunger for quality, for heart, for something that reflected the spirit of what the crown once was. And behind it all, Leona Rowan stood quietly, letting her work speak louder than her words ever could. She spent nights planning menus with Bram. She refined service flow with Nita. She tested sauces, adjusted plating, and created desserts with soul instead of sugar. The restaurant wasn't built on competition or revenge. It was built on belonging, for every person who worked under Aries' guidance, and on the night before opening day, when the chairs were polished, the tables perfectly set, and the kitchen gleaming with promise, Leona stood in the center of it all. No applause, no crowd. Just the feeling of finally being where she belonged. In her pocket, she carried the letter from Aries. In her heart, she carried the confidence she once believed she had to earn. Now she understood. Confidence is not given. It's realized. And tomorrow, she would share it with the world. Opening day arrived like a quiet sunrise, steady, inevitable, and impossible to ignore. The doors of Aries' legacy stood tall, framed with fresh flowers, subtle lighting, and a scent of warm caramel drifting out from the kitchen. The city waited. Food bloggers hovered outside with cameras ready. Reporters scribbled notes, and former clients of the crown lined up, dressed as if attending a ceremony rather than a restaurant opening. For them, this wasn't just dinner. It was resurrection. Inside the kitchen, Chef Bram Cassidy checked every station, inspecting each plate like a jeweler examining diamonds. He wasn't smiling, not even nervous. He was focused. And when Bram was focused, excellence wasn't hoped for. It was guaranteed. Beside him stood Liana, wearing a plain black chef coat with a tiny embroidered violet over her heart. Not a crown. Not her name. Just a violet, the same symbol she placed on every cupcake she ever made, the same touch Aries once admired. She didn't dress to prove anything. She dressed to work, ready. Bram grunted, checking the time. Yes, she replied, her voice firm, no hesitation. Nita stepped into the kitchen. They're seated. Everyone is waiting. Those words used to make her nervous. Now they gave her purpose. The first service began. The menu, inspired by Aries' original philosophy, wasn't loud or complicated. No unnecessary garnish. No flashy trend chasing. Every dish told a story. Seared lamb with rosemary ash, honoring the dish that once earned the crown its fame. Citrus marinated sea bass, inspired by Aries' travel journals from Sicily. Golden onion soup, cooked slow for 8 hours, rich enough to silence any critic. And for dessert, violet custard tart, Liana's own creation, a tribute to the woman who believed in her, topped with a single edible violet. Bram plated the first lamb dish and nodded. Let's make her proud. They sent the dish out. Within minutes, whispers of pleasure spread through the restaurant like music. Cameras flashed. Forks slowed. People didn't just eat, they experienced it. At the dessert station, Leona prepared violet tarts one by one, steady and silent, remembering something Aries once said, a dessert is not a sweet ending. It is a memory. Tonight, she wasn't serving food. She was serving memories. Halfway through service, an unexpected guest arrived, Representative Walker, the same loyal customer who left the crown furious weeks earlier, walked in wearing a subtle smile. The staff paused. Customers turned. Even the reporters leaned in. The man went straight to Leona, not to the host or the front desk. I knew it, he said quietly. The crown didn't die. It just moved where it belonged. He shook her hand with sincerity. I'll take a table for one. Anything the chef chooses for me, it was respect, not pity. Respect for what survived. Leona nodded, heart full but steady. We'll serve you something worth the wait. The night continued more beautiful than she imagined. No chaos, no drama, no complaints. Just food doing what it was meant to do, bring people together, even online. Comments exploded. This is the real heir of Aries. The legacy didn't end. It evolved. The crown is just a name. This is the soul. The city didn't just accept her. It celebrated her. At the end of the night, after the last customer left, after the lights dimmed and kitchen counters gleamed from cleaning, Bram approached her with tired eyes but a rare smirk. You did it, he grunted. No, she answered. We did. Nita walked over, placing a soft hand on Leanna's shoulder. Aries would have been proud. Leona looked around the room, the chairs neatly stacked, the aroma of roasted herbs lingering, and the sugar perfume of violets still floating in the air. This isn't about pride, she said softly. It's about continuing what she started. The staff gathered for a quick toast with sparkling cider. No champagne. No champagne was needed for sincerity. To Aries, Nita said. To growth, Bram added. To new beginnings, one of the waiters chimed in. Leona lifted her glass last. To believing in people. Even before they believe in themselves, they drank. And for the first time, she felt equal to her own destiny. Hours later, after everyone left, Leona locked up and stepped outside into the cool night. Her phone buzzed. A message from Evan. Not angry. Not demanding. Just 5 simple words. I hope you're happy, Leona. She typed one word back. I am, not because she won. Not because she proved him wrong. But because she finally chose herself. She walked to her car, breathed in the quiet, and allowed the satisfaction to settle in her chest. Not loud, not triumphant, peaceful. This wasn't revenge. This was growth. And growth tastes better than victory. The morning after the grand opening felt different. The city woke up with the taste of Aries' legacy still on its tongue. Social media buzzed with reviews, not spoiled with criticism or comparison, but filled with awe. Food critics who once doubted the direction of fine dining now praised the restaurant for something rare, heart-driven excellence. Chefs reposted the violet dessert on their feeds with admiration, not envy. And in the midst of that praise, one truth kept repeating. This isn't the crown. This is what the crown was meant to be. Leona sat alone in the quiet bakery office, reading the comments with a soft smile. She didn't need applause to feel proud, but appreciation felt like justice. Her phone chimed again. And this time, instead of dread, she opened it calmly. A message from someone she didn't expect. Vivian Hale. It wasn't long. Not angry. Just 7 words. You proved me wrong. I was unfair. No apology would erase what she had done. No message could return trust. But for the first time, Vivian's words weren't dripping with superiority. They sounded human, flawed, almost ashamed. And that was enough. Leona replied with honesty, not cruelty. I hope you find what makes you proud, too. She didn't need revenge. She didn't need validation. She only needed peace, and peace never comes from bitterness. Later that afternoon, the bakery door opened, and Evan Hale walked in, not expecting forgiveness, but searching for closure. He looked smaller than before, as if the last few weeks had hollowed out some pride and replaced it with truth. He didn't order coffee. He didn't pretend nothing happened. He just asked, softly, "Can I sit?" Leona nodded. She didn't hold resentment. The past weighed only as much as she allowed it to. I saw the reviews. Evan said, eyes damp with something genuine. You built something beautiful. You did what I couldn't imagine. You didn't have to imagine it, Leona replied gently. You only needed to believe in me while I learned. He nodded slowly. I understand that now. I'm sorry. The words hung between them, not a question, not a plea. Just the truth. Leona didn't rush to answer. Not because she didn't forgive, but because forgiveness doesn't always mean returning. It means letting go. You're not a bad person, she finally said. You just didn't know how to love someone without trying to manage them. Evan blinked. That sentence cut deeper than anger ever could. What now? He asked, quietly hopeful, quietly afraid. What's meant to grow will grow, she answered. But not everything is meant to grow together. There were no raised voices, no last insults, no tears of regret, just maturity, just peace. He nodded, understanding more from her silence than her words. Then he stood up, hesitated, and said, "You were never just a baker. You were the whole recipe." That was the closure she didn't know she needed. He left, not defeated, but wiser. And she watched him go, grateful for the growth, not the pain. That evening, the team gathered for post-opening evaluations. Bram brought papers, Nita brought statistics, and the staff brought excitement. For the first time, no one looked over their shoulder afraid of someone's power. They worked as partners, as a family. What's our next plan? A young chef asked eagerly. Leona smiled. She wasn't planning expansion or profit speeches. She wasn't chasing Michelin stars, though she knew one day they might earn one. She said simply, "Let's make food that matters," because that was the legacy. Not fame, not money, not control. Meaning. And meaning would be their ingredient. Every day, as the restaurant closed for the night, and the team celebrated with leftover desserts and tired laughter. Leona stepped outside. The street was quiet. The sign above her glowed softly. Aries' legacy. She looked up, imagining Aries standing beside her, proud, amused, probably teasing her for worrying so much. The night breeze carried the scent of violets from the planters near the door. That gentle fragrance felt like Aries whispering, "See, you could do it all along." Leona touched the small violet embroidery on her coat and whispered back, "Thank you for seeing me before I saw myself." And with that, her journey wasn't completed. It had just, truly, begun. Some stories end with noise, some with applause. But the best ones end quietly, with growth. Leona didn't take revenge on anyone. She didn't need to. The world already showed the difference between people who try to own success and people who work to become it. She didn't rise because she was loud. She rose because she stayed consistent. She didn't win by proving anyone wrong. She won by proving herself right. Aries didn't choose Leona because she was perfect. She chose her because she could learn, because she had heart before ambition, because she knew how to feed not just hunger, but souls. And today, Aries' legacy stands in the heart of Atlanta, not as a replacement for the crown, but as a reminder: greatness can't be inherited by force. It must be carried with love. People thought they were taking something from Leona. They never realized she was building something new. People mocked her for being just a baker. They never expected a baker to become a legacy. And that's the truth life keeps repeating. You don't lose when others don't believe in you. You lose only when you stop believing in yourself. Leona didn't wait for permission. She didn't wait for approval. She didn't wait to be seen. She learned. She worked. She bloomed. And one day, without announcing anything, she became something no one thought she could ever be, exactly who she was meant to become. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you believe in yourself a little more today, then join our community, subscribe, comment, and stay with us for more real stories that heal, teach, and transform. Thank you for watching.